All right, I was going to talk about weed eating a little bit. I've got quite a bit to do here, as you can see, and this is some tall stuff. So there's a big difference in weed eating this tall stuff and just shorter stuff. With a short one, if you've got a good weed eater like this is just a residential Stihl FS56, which is great. I've used them many times. You can pretty much just walk with your weed eater. You know, you can, if you got the throttle open and you've got your string where it needs to be, which I'm going to talk about a little bit in this video, because having the right string length has a lot to do with having, you know, the sufficient power to run your weed eater in the particular grass that you're doing. If you can hear it bogging down, going, your string's too long, which you can run them like that, and I have many times, especially because you take out a bigger area. As you see, I don't have a guard on here, so we would do plank fences a lot of times. I did it commercially for Derby horse farms and stuff, and we would do mile after mile after mile, and we would always have these guards off. I don't like running them with the guard on them. Because you can get so much done, so much more done quicker with the guard off. But like say you're on a fence, a plank fence, rather than having to climb over to do the other hoe side, and say you've got a mile of fence, so that's 2 miles, you can walk 1 mile instead of 2 if you got the guard off, because you can get it off from the one side of the fence. And I may try to show something like that. I don't really have any plank fence around here, but so the string length matters. As you can see here, it's pretty long, probably a little longer than the guard would allow you to be. But if you've got a weed eater with a sufficient engine on it, sufficient motor, you can run them like that, no problem. And you can get a lot more done a lot quicker in a far shorter amount of time. And when you're doing it for a business, that means a lot to you, because you can get behind and stuff like that. And you've got these big, like that farm we did was 1,400 acres. So that tells you how much weed eating there was on it, or you can kind of get an idea anyways. But so like this right here, you've got to swing your weed eater in this tall stuff. You can't just walk around with your weed eater like this, you know, walk around like this with it, you know, going back and forth like you normally do. You've got to swing it. If you swing it like that, you can really take the weeds down a lot better. And I learned that from a man when I was in commercial lawn care. One day I was going down a fence line and I was struggling, and he was mowing. He had been there for about 10 years or so for a commercial business. So he was very skilled. His name was Romero, very skilled with the mower and very skilled with the weed eater. And there is levels to it. And I realized that once I got onto a commercial lawn care service, just like there is with anything else. There's levels to felling trees. There's levels, you know, loggers. There's levels to lawn care. There's levels to roofing. There's levels to anything you do. There's professional levels at it. And there is professional levels to lawn care. So, and I seen that when I was there, you know. I learned a lot from those guys, and you know, within about a year or so I could keep up with those guys, which was a huge improvement from when I started. Even though I was a good worker, I just didn't, and had good work ethic, I didn't know how to use the equipment properly, or in a way that was efficient, you know, and they really taught me how to do that. So what I'm going to show you, this is a pretty good area here, and this is very overgrown, and I'll give you a better view over here in a moment, but I'm going to go over, you know, the string length, as I said. So let me show you something really quick here, and I'll even take it over here to show you. Okay, so another thing too is safety. You know, I'm definitely for safety, and like usually I wear sunglasses. For one, they protect your eyes. Like right now you can see I'm squinting, and I drove a truck for a while, and something I noticed when you're driving a truck for 11 hours a day, 10 hours a day, 9 hours a day, is when you squint like that, the muscles around your eyes actually get sore from squinting. So not only do sunglasses protect your eyes, lots of guys in lawn care, you'll see them with sunglasses as far as the sun goes, but they protect you from getting hit. I've had things hit my glasses so hard, rocks and sticks and stuff, that if it were to hit my eyeball that hard, it may have busted my eyeball. So I would recommend always having some sort of safety protection for your eyes when you're weed eating, because you will get hit, especially with the guard off like we do it. I get hit in the face and stuff all the time. I always have, but that's something I'm willing to do with the guard off, you know, and lots of guys that do it commercially or for a business know what I'm talking about. But anyways, there's a post right here, and so I'm going to show you the way we used to use those posts on the Derby horse farms to make our string a little shorter if it's bogging down, or because once you've got the guard off, you know, that guard, having it off allows that string to be longer than it normally would, because the guard would cut it down. But like I said, you got a sufficient engine. This is a Stihl FS56, so it's just a residential model. I've shown them before. I used them for years for doing my own business. They're great, and I've had 111s as well. I've used 130s and 131s. So I've used big commercial weeders. I had 3 of them when I was doing it, and they definitely have more power, but they're really a little too overpowered for residential homes and stuff like that. like their underpinning and stuff, you'll tear it to pieces if you ain't careful. But what I'm gonna show you right here is how it's very important with your string. So if you say you're doing like taller stuff like this right here, this is all kind of tall. Let's see how tall this is? That's how the grass is right here. Well, when you're in that and it's thick, if your string's too long and your weed eater's bogging down, you're not gonna move very quick. But if you'll shorten your string a little bit, your engine will rev up because it's not having so much string to spin, and you'll be able to go through that taller stuff a lot easier. Now, if you're on shorter stuff, like maybe like that, you can have your string longer and take out a bigger area because your engine can turn it, you know, in that shorter stuff. But I'm gonna show you right here how to get your string shorter when you need it. It's very easy, but it's very effective. It's very important. Something you should learn is the length of your string and knowing the sound that your engine makes on your weed eater, and knowing if it's sufficient for the type of grass that you're in, like if you're in taller or shorter grass. But I'll show you here, and I'll even make it too long and show you. Right there is pretty good, really. You don't want your string too short either. I remember there's this guy when he first started, and he would let his string get eat up too short. Lots of guys do it when they're newer and they don't realize it, and the engine will sit there going, it's just revving up too high. You need to make your string a little longer when it's like that. So I'll show you what that sounds like now, and then I'll show you what it sounds like also when it's too long. So let's make it a little shorter on this post. There, that's why it's going, you know, it's too short, and you kind of get the feel, just like with a chainsaw, you get the feel of it when you use it. You do that with the weed eater too, from the sound and the feel of it. So you see the string now is a lot shorter. Now I'm going to show you what it sounds like when it's too long. These have self-feed heads on them, so all you got to do is, that's one of my favorite things about Stihl, is you bump that head right there and the string comes out. You hit it on a hard surface like that while you're squeezing the trigger, and it makes it longer. Hear it bogging down. So the sound of your engine, learning how it should sound and how it should feel, is a big part of weeding efficiently, and that changes with depending on the weed eater you've got. Because if you got a commercial one, they've got more power and they can have longer string and turn it pretty efficient until you get into the real long stuff. But like in that longer stuff over there, look at my string now. I'm not going to want it like that in that real long stuff. Look how long the string is. Now your guard on won't even let you get it like that, but you can run them like that, especially a commercial one, because they've got more power in shorter grass. But when you're in that taller stuff like that, you're not going to want to do it. So now let me get my string about to where I want it, and I'll show you. And just listen to the sound of this. What I do is I hold the tip of, and you don't have to use a fence post. You can't. We used to all the time. But you hold, the tip of your string around a hard surface. So it may be a rock, blacktop, concrete, whatever. You just something you don't want to damage, because it can damage certain things. Those posts, it doesn't really hurt them too bad. We used to do it all the time on those farms. Because when you're out in the middle of the field, there's not really much else you can do if there aren't rocks nearby. But a rock is very good as well. You just got to be careful sometimes. That's why it's very important, because your string can break and fly off. But this is how you got to adjust your string, unless you're going to just cut it all the time. We never did that. We used things around us to adjust it. And now I'm going to get it to where I want it for this grass right here, because I need my power. I need my RPMs to rev up. I need more power. You hear it right now. Now listen to them rev up as this string begins to shorten on this fence post. Pretty good. go a little shorter than that, really. Yeah, I could even go a little shorter. Listen if I go a little shorter. That's actually a little better right there for that, especially for that taller stuff. Now you can see about where my string is. So right around there is really where you'd like to keep it a lot of the times. Right around there. I'm not sure, maybe 5 inches or so. You can go longer. Like I said, it depends on the engine of the weed eater. A 111 or 131, a commercial unit, will have a stronger engine, a bigger gas tank, fuel tank, and they'll also have a heavier duty throttle right here. So the commercial ones are definitely better, but they're not needed at all. I've used these units right here for years. These FS56s, they're very good. I highly recommend them. I think they're around $200, $220 or so, brand new. They're well worth it. They'll last you for many years as long as you take care of them. And they're for a homeowner, really, I wouldn't recommend a commercial one unless you, depending on what kind of home you've got, you know. But when you get around your home and stuff like that, you can do a lot of damage with a commercial weed eater. They're very powerful. So now we're gonna get into this here, and I'm gonna show you about swinging a weed eater. Because in this shorter stuff right here, I'll show you, you may not have to swing it as much in this. We'll kind of get a view of this shorter stuff here, which this ain't short, it just ain't real thick. This is tall too. It just ain't real thick, but that over there is thick. Quick I did that area there. There's the area I did, and that's pretty tall, but that's real thick right there. So now we're gonna get into that. All right, so now we're gonna get into this taller stuff, and this is where I'm gonna show you swinging a weed eater, you know, where swinging really comes in. If you just try to weed eat it regular, like I did over there, like this right here, you know, it's not gonna work so well in this long stuff. You've gotta literally do this. Sometimes I'll plant mine on my hip right here and use my hips and just do this. I mean, I've done whole way big areas, probably miles of it before, going down creeks and stuff like that, just swinging like that right there. All right, let's get after it. How it's working there. I hope you can anyways. You can see I'm not swinging it right there really. I'm kind of just moving it. But you can see how it's working there. But I'm gonna show you now the difference when you start swinging it and when you're moving. Lots of people may not do this, but not just to move quick, but just to get it done. To actually even be able to get it done. Swinging it, you can get it done in this tall stuff like this a lot better. just tried to do it regular. That was swinging. So you see the difference there, and when you swing it, when you don't. Look at that area I took out already. Didn't take very long. Not breathing real hard or nothing like that. I love weed eating. It's one of my favorite things to do, honestly. I remember that the owner of that company, he came to try to pick me up one day, and he said, or one of the guys that worked for me, he said, how would you like to have an easy day and come with me and take it easy and do this and do that? And I was on a fence, and it was, I think, a couple of miles that we had to do down through there. And after we get done with one, we go to the next. I was on the commercial crew, the farm crew, so we did big properties. And I said, I'll just keep weed eating. I like this. And so he was kind of surprised at it. And I remember the owner, he said, yeah, that boy likes to weed eat. So it depends on what you like, but I love weed eating, especially with a good weed eater, and especially after learning how to do it. When you become good at something, I'm not trying to brag at myself, it's because of those guys that I grew good at it, skilled at it. But now I honestly feel professional when it comes to lawn care. I did it for myself, altogether landscaping for around 5 years, lawn care for 3 or probably more than that, and then I did it for them for around a year for that commercial business, and so I got very comfortable with it. But knowing the length to have your string is very important. Knowing the sound of the motor on your piece of equipment, your weed eater is what we call them, I know some people call them string trimmers, is very important. Having a good weed eater is very important, and having good string is extremely important. I've done jobs for many people, big jobs, farms, everything, when I work for myself and for them. And if you've not got good string, it will get ate up really quick. This is Husqvarna brand right here, string. It's good stuff. Steel is also good stuff. But what we use a lot of times was called Gator line, and it actually had like wire in the middle of it. You could see it, and it was very strong stuff. Where we did, because we did stalks and stuff like that sometimes. And if you're using the cheap string, you'll be out of string maybe in 5 minutes. I have before when I filled this up, within about 5 minutes. I'm gonna make a video later showing how to fill these up as well, the weed eater. I'll make a short video on that and show you how how they taught me how to, refill them with string and everything. And all heads are different. I really like the steel head. It's one of my favorite thing about steel is the heads on their weed eaters. And when you do it commercially like that and stuff, it don't take that long. I was doing it for a guy on that big farm in Winchester. I think he had around 10 or 20 acres, I can't remember, and he had fence all the way around. He had horses, and my buddy was there. I left my buddy there, and he's doesn't have commercial experience. He's kind of like I was before I started, not the fastest at it. And so I left him to go and get my mower because I realized that the guy used a tractor to mow with. And so there was a good 6 feet by the fence that he didn't mow. And I didn't realize that until after I got there. And I told him, I said, well, I'm gonna go get my mower. That way I can get a lot closer to this stuff, and you stay here and weed eat while I'm gone. And when I got back, he had made a little bit of progress, but not a whole lot. And the guy seen the progress that he made, and he said, hey, do you got a crew? He said, it's gonna take you all day to just do that roadside out there. And so the guy hadn't really seen me weed eat at that point. So I got my weed eater, went out there and did that roadside in I think around 30 minutes or so. He thought it was gonna take all day. So there are different levels to everything. And I'm not talking about saying that to try to exalt myself, by no means, because I couldn't do that when I first started with those guys. But because of those guys, those professionals I worked with, and because of the work ethic that I had, it's not just a skill level either, there's work ethic as well. Work ethic, your skill level, and your equipment all go together, because you can get a guy that's very skilled and give him a bad piece of equipment and he can have a bad day. And you can get a guy that's not very skilled and give him a good piece of equipment and he can have a bad day. So and work ethic too, it comes into it too, So I've learned that over the years. But anyways, I hope this helps you in some way or another. If you just learn to swing your weed eaters in this taller stuff, it'll really help you a lot. And I learned that from a very skilled professional at lawn care who had done it for many years. At this point, I would say going on 16 years or so. So if he is still in it, I haven't talked to him for a long time, but I know he had around 10 years experience, commercial experience, which is very valuable experience at that point. So But if you get into this taller stuff, don't think you can't take care of it. You can, but you got to know how to swing your weed eater and have a good weed eater as well. Don't get the, I would not recommend cheaper brands. You know, my neighbor next door here, he's not home at the moment, but he gets cheaper brands a lot. And I've told him before, I said, get you a good Stihl weed eater. You know, Echo makes good ones. I think Husqvarna does. I think I've used Husqvarna's once. I've never used the Echo. The Husqvarna that I used that was around the same as this. This Stihl was way better. But now Husqvarna's been around a lot longer than Stihl. And as far as chainsaws go, from what I've heard, they make the best. From what I've heard, I've never used them really. I've used mainly Stihl, and what got me started on Stihl was their weed eaters. They're so good. So, but anyways, first thing, get you a good weed eater, get good string, and then learn how to swing that weed eater in the taller stuff, and learn how long to have your string in any type of grass that you're in, whether it's short, tall, whatever. Learn the sound of your engine, and if it's bogging down or if it's revving up too high, it's very easy with these Stihls. Because of the self-feed head, just go and bump it on something if you need a little more string. If you need to take some string off, just hold your throttle down and try to learn where the tip of your string is, and that comes with feel as well, and use that on a hard surface and knock it down some. So that's very important. All those things, all those aspects, your string length, the tool that you're using, your string type, and the grass that you're in is all very important. But I hope this helps you somewhere or another. I'm just gonna go back, getting bit by something. I'm gonna go back to weed eating here, and I'll kind of just show that to you. I may put it in fast forward, I may just leave it. Shouldn't take too long. I'm going to show this real quick. So see these stalks here? This is the kind of stuff that'll eat your string up quick. And now lots of homeowners may not have to deal with this. Some of you may if you let stuff in certain areas get long, but this stuff right here will eat your string up quick. Any stalks like that, there's some there. So that's why it's important to have good string. It's worth it to spend even an extra $10, but I'm telling you, it's going to last a lot longer than that cheap stuff. That'll do it. Thank you. Be safe and God bless.